Welcome in to another Running with the Timberwolves podcast on the Believe Sports Network. My name is Gabe Anderson, and I'm joined, as always, by Chris Emerson. Chris, how you doing?
Hey, we're doing great. I think it's 41 days or something like that till tip off. So I'm excited.
What we are here to talk about today is the guy that is the face of the franchise, the guy who, if he goes down, pretty much the whole team goes down.
Yeah.
Essentially, today we're talking about Anthony Edwards in a couple capacities. One, what he can get better at in the new season. Two, what we loved from him last year. And three, what kind of step does he need to take in order for this team to get over the next hump? Which is crazy to talk about because usually in the past, like when we started this podcast about 5 years ago, the next hump was just making the playoffs, right? Like it was
Right.
just being a 500 team. And now we're talking, we've been to 2 straight Western Conference finals. Now it's okay, let's get
Hang a
past the
banner.
thunder here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Hanging a banner is a crazy next step where it seemed like fans were kind of like a ho-hum about the season, and we went to the Western Conference final. I mean, it's
Right.
insane the kind of success we've had in the last couple of years and the kind of ho-humness that fans have quickly learned after being a winning team. So everybody always wants more. So let's see if we can give it to them.
Right, absolutely. So today we are here to talk about Anthony Edwards. But before we get going, as always, make sure to give us a 5-star rating on Spotify and or Apple. If you're watching on YouTube, give us a like, comment, subscribe. Let us know your expectations for Anthony Edwards, and you can do that on Spotify as well. You can leave a comment as well. Really helps the show grow, and tell a friend as well. So let's just start with this. What is one thing that you loved in the progression of Anthony Edwards from last season that you saw either in the regular season or in the playoffs or both?
Yeah. I think the three ball being a legit weapon for him where he's not just downhill all the time was nice. Really pushing that. But I didn't really, to be honest, I don't know if there was a ton of really noticeable progression in my mind. Maybe I'm just seeing so much of it. It's like watching your son grow. You don't realize he got taller over the years because you see a little bit of it every game. But there was nothing that really jumped out to me last year. Slight improvements everywhere, but I can't think of what it was personally.
So for me, well, this kind of gets into what I want to see him do
Yeah.
better next year. But what I saw in the playoffs last year, particularly in the first 2 series, OKC was obviously the superior team in the third series. But what I saw in the playoffs in particular was he was much better in clutch time, which is crazy to think about because when we think of Anthony Edwards, we think of him putting the game away against the Rockets or his crazy step back against the Kings. But there are some times where he just doesn't have it at the end of games. In fact, in the playoffs last season, he was in clutch time, which is, for reference, the last 5 minutes of the game within 5 points. So anything inside that. By the way, the top 2 players in regular season clutch time games played were Jaden McDaniels and Anthony Edwards. So
Yeah.
we were
We
in
had a
this
ton
range.
of clutch games.
Yeah. Yeah, basically, yeah. And we actually had a losing record in them. But from the field in the playoffs last year in clutch time, and this includes the OKC series, 50% from the field, 40% from 3. And I think that's the next evolution of his game is being more efficient in clutch time, taking those big shots. He's not afraid of taking those big shots, but kind of converting them at a more successful level. And those playoff successes kind of point towards he's going to be even better next season. But to answer your question, what I liked about this season, I still think we do got to avoid the Anthony Edwards games where he kind of gets, I don't want to say bored, but it almost feels like sometimes he's trying to prove a point by passing a lot. Like it's almost like he's not in attack mode as
Yeah.
much as he could be. But I mean, when you have 27 points per game, that's still
You're
on a good
attacking a
team.
lot.
Like you could go score 27 points a game, and don't get me wrong, I'm not calling this guy out, but you could go be a Cam Thomas
Mhm.
and score 25, 26 points per game and win 23 points. But he's doing it when it mattered. And that's what I loved about Anthony Edwards this year. I think the biggest progression was that more honesty. I think he's becoming more of the leader of this team and the alpha of this team. For
Right.
example, like remember, and I go back to it all the time. Remember at the beginning of the season against Portland, where he's like, "Man, I don't know how to read double teams. I don't know what to do out there." He adjusted. He found ways to adjust, and a lot of that was coming of age of Julius Randle as well into the offense. But just being able to adjust and finesse his game to what the team needs is, I think, the biggest jump from last year. Let's go into this. What do you think he can improve the most at in year 6, I believe?
Yeah, so I was looking at some of the stuff, and the first thing that came to mind was, he's gonna have to maybe get some easier buckets. So I was looking at, free throw attempts, like maybe he has to get to the line more. But he was
Mhm.
ninth in the league in getting to the line, so like that's pretty good at 6.3. But then there's guys, even like Shea was like 2.5 free throws more. So
Mhm.
that's maybe 2 points more. I
Mhm.
think what he's gonna end up doing more is mid-range stuff,
Yes.
and I know that a lot of times that's, kind of frowned upon, but I heard Kevin Durant, I don't know if you've heard him talk on this mid-range stuff, and, they said something to him once in an interview. It's like, "I think, you might need to take more threes. You're taking all these mid-range stuff." And he said, "No. No, the other guys need to take more threes. Like these other 4 guys, those are the guys that need to take more threes. I'm the
Mhm.
star. I'm the one that needs to find the space and get my shot." And I think that that's what it's gonna come down to more than Anthony Edwards really doing much more different, is the other guys are gonna have to be more impactful so that the paint doesn't get squished on him, so that, it doesn't make it harder for him, especially in crunch time when teams can just, really focus on him because you've got, multiple non-shooters or people that they're not worried about offensively out
Right.
there. So I think it's gonna have to be a team thing that's gonna have to improve to help him improve.
Right, and I totally agree. And I was reading this article from Dunking with Wolves saying kind of the same thing you were saying. Anthony Edwards need to increase his mid-range shot, and even more than that, maybe a little more post-up game. I mean,
Yeah,
Anthony Edwards, he's a big guy, 6'4", about 220. I mean, you see Shea Gilgeous-Alexander post up all the time and have great success at it. I mean, I saw the stat: Anthony Edwards on post-ups was like 30% last season, which you got to get a lot better on that. I mean, there's a lot of NBA players. I'm thinking particularly the Kevin Durant. That's all they do is post up. You saw
yeah.
LeBron, not as much recently, but back in the day, he would post up as well. And I know that it's almost kind of a lost art in the NBA, but like you were saying, a mid-range game and a post-up game, if he can add that, I mean, this kid is going to be unstoppable with his ability to get to the rim
Yeah.
and his ability to shoot. Like, okay, we're not sure if he's going to shoot 40% from three again. He has the
Probably
ability
will.
to on that big a volume. He definitely has the ability to. But if he can add a post up game and a mid range game, those 3 pointers are going to be even more open.
Yeah, like, what are you gonna do to stop him at that point? Um, the problem with the post-up game is, Rudy's around, so
Yep.
then that's people in there, and, like, if you got Jaden in the corner, one of the worst corner three-point shooters in the NBA last year, like, you can't do that, and even Randall is a, NBA average level three-point shooter, so, like, you got multiple guys that they'll just smush down in the paint on. So, yeah, I mean, I think Finch is gonna have to get some more action flowing. I think the team in general is going to have to move the ball more so he gets easier shots. And I hope all that's going to happen with a full off season with this roster,
Mhm.
for Finch to figure out how he wants to tweak it to make it work.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned that a full off season together for this team, and I was looking at Anthony Edwards' shot chart, according to I think it's called 3basket.com, which I think is accurate. But I mean, from the corners, he's fantastic. From three, from the right corner from three, 43% last year. From the left corner from three, 40%. In fact, from the right, not the right corner, but about midway up to about the top where the free throw line is, 43% from three, although he didn't take that many. From the top, he shot 38% from three, but his mid-range game, not necessarily there. From the right side, about 35%. From the left side, about 32% from
Yep.
the mid-range. And I totally agree. What's interesting is you see guys like Kevin Durant, and I know I brought him up, or DeMar DeRozan as
Mhm.
well. Ant almost seems like his mid-range game is totally different. Like a lot of times he'll hit like a pump fake and then a step through. It's not really like a pure shot almost.
Yeah.
It's almost like kind of a dipsy do kind of thing to try to score, which he does score on occasion on that. But I almost think an adjustment from the mid range needs to be made.
For sure. And I mean, it comes down to those percentages, like you're saying. I mean, for him to make a step up, like he needs to be almost an MVP type guy. Um, I think it's going to be shot selection because to lead the league in scoring, he's going to have to score better. But I mean, he shot 1.5 shots less than Shea last year, and Shea led the league in shots taken. So like he's right there on the most shots taken. He just has to, be better in some of these areas. And I think a lot of that, like I said, is going to come from others, being more effective, which will give him more space.
I agree with that as well. And like you were mentioning before, it is kind of weird to say, oh, he needs to improve the mid range game when what we saw Randall in basically where he thrived last season was kind of being a ball dominant guy and then almost drawing the defense and then kicking out to 3-point shooters. It's going to be an interesting combination there. I think it can work. Like I mean, we saw last year going to the Western Conference Finals. It can work. We've seen it with a whole offseason together.
I want to see Randall and Edwards be dynamic together. There was times when they were both dynamic at the same time, but they weren't. I wouldn't say they were dynamic together.
Mhm.
Like you can both score 30, but none of those really happen off each other's actions. I want to see more of those two guys in two-man game. I want to see more explosive plays with those two. I mean, those guys are the most skilled players on our team, and it's really not that close. Um,
Mhm.
but it's always one or the other. Kind of like when the Heat came together, the Heatles, it was Wade and LeBron were kind of crap when they were together on the court, but they were great. One would sub for the other, and they'd be super effective. Um, these two guys need to get to the point where when those two are on the court, it's just mayhem. So maybe that's what this offseason will give us. I'm not sure.
Right. And you're hoping that it would. And to talk about Ant's MVP chances,
Yeah.
I think the Wolves would need to be a 1 or 2 seed, first of all,
Yep.
because here's the thing: the Wolves are not they don't have the element of surprise
Yep.
anymore.
They're not
Like the
sexy
Wolves,
either.
yeah, the Wolves cannot come out of nowhere. Whereas a few years ago, it's like, oh my gosh, the Wolves are a 2 seed. Wow, where did that come from?
Yeah.
You know, so they don't have the element of surprise anymore. And I think for Anthony Edwards to really win the MVP, I think his assisting needs to go up a little bit because when you look at his stat, okay, so let's look at last year's stats. 27.6 points per game on 44% shooting, 4 assists, 5 rebounds. I think just the way the NBA is today, where you guys got guys who are almost averaging triple doubles like
For
Luka
sure.
Doncic and Nikola Jokic, who is the core of their entire team.
Yeah.
I think you need more flashy stats. And when you got guys like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander who are scoring 30 points per game as well. So that's why I almost doubt Anthony Edwards, like his ability to win an MVP at least next season. But the good news is I'd rather win 65 games and go to the finals than win an MVP.
For sure, and I'm sure he would say the same thing.
Right.
The MVP is cool, as long as he's, and I've been saying this for years, he's gonna need to be an MVP contention for us to make a push, because he has to be that guy that is the catalyst for the roster, for the team.
Right.
It's gonna be interesting to see what happens next to him at the point guard position. You know, Mike Conley's a great guy, but again, no defense is worried about him.
Mm-hmm.
And then small forward right after that, you've got, Jaden. No one's really worried about Jaden. And then you've got Randall. That's cool. But then you've got Rudy. And to have 3 guys that the defense kind of doesn't care about makes it hard work for those other 2.
Right. And I agree with that. But I'm also optimistic because Anthony Edwards, he's only 24. He's going into his prime. I know we say this almost every podcast, but I love it so much. Terrence Shannon Jr., who was drafted last year, is older than Anthony Edwards. I love that stat. That's crazy to me.
Like 2 years older, I think.
No, one. I think they're both 24 right now. But Terrence Shannon will be 25 before Anthony Edwards. I'm almost positive on that. But just crazy stats there. And we've seen guys that go into their prime just ascend at this point, and it'll be exciting to see. You were mentioning an MVP.
He's 25 already, by the way.
Oh, 25. Okay. So, 1 year difference. But we've seen guys go into their prime like Kobe and LeBron and really take the next step. And I guess we're going to find out if Anthony Edwards is in that echelon. And you were mentioning it has to be in MVP contention, at least for us to make runs. He was 7th in voting last year. So
I think it's going to have to be like 3rd, like top 3.
Okay.
It's going to have to be like, maybe it's him.
One thing I wanted to bring up before we end the episode of Anthony Edwards, and this is more a, I guess, personality thing. Not personality, but I think you know where we're going with this. 20 technicals last year. Yep. And it cost us 1 game against Utah. Now, you can argue how much 1 technical free throw really hurts a team. But it almost cost us. It almost cost us in the other game against Utah. Yeah. It really almost did. Because I almost think if Anthony Edwards isn't in that game 82, we may lose that game. Control at the end. Maybe Utah gives us it at the end just because they want to move up draft-wise. But, that was too close for comfort. Now, he was a dumb – I think that's why the league rescinded it. It was a dumb technical against Brooklyn. But he's got to be better than that. He can't be Draymond Green out there.
And that's more important. Like you said earlier, he last year he stepped up to be the leader role quite a bit. And if you're going to be that guy and you're going to be the MVP or in those contention, you can't do stupid immature stuff on the court. Like a lot of those technicals were him just pouting and just being a baby, like mad that he didn't get a call. You think clapping at a ref is going to make him give you the call that just happened? Like, dude, get it together. Like I get it. You're frustrated, but you're acting like you don't get any calls, but you're in the top 10 in free throws. Take it. Like, come on, man. Just play the next down kind of thing. I'm not going to pretend he doesn't get the best whistle because he doesn't. And there are certainly times, and
That's another thing better from last year. I think he got a better whistle than he did the years before, to be completely honest. But I mean, if you look at, I just want to look at here, the leaders in technical fouls: Anthony Edwards at 20, Dylan Brooks at 19, Draymond Green at 18. Which didn't he miss part of the year last year because of his stupid stuff? I thought he did. And whatever, Draymond. Jason Tatum at 16, Trae Young at 16. So just Isaiah Stewart at 15, Luka Doncic at 14. So I think, and we talked about it before, if nothing else, Anthony Edwards, if you're listening to this podcast, which I don't know why you would be, but it's great if you are. We'd love to have you on. But like you were mentioning, stop clapping. Yeah. Stop being so demonstrative.
I can be demonstrative. Stop. We don't do that.
And you can be mad at the call. You can say stuff, but when you're like clapping in a ref's face, you're saying, "Give me a technical." Yeah. It's almost like you're trying to make a point.
Yeah.
It's year 6. Like, come on now. You're not Draymond Green.
It's a good time for him to turn the corner. I think. Yeah, I think for him, I think we're going to have some more dynamic lineups. Like you said, we're going to hit the bench more. That does make sense. We lost Nikhil. I don't know offhand how many minutes he was playing, but those are going to be eaten up by some of those bench role guys. Conley hopefully will lose maybe three minutes a game, something like that. Like some of those guys are going to be able to eat some of those minutes up, which will be great. Those young energy guys, they add something when they're out there.
They do.
I mean, all of them add something that's not happening when our old vets are out there. It's just sort of I mean, it's an effective game, but it's like, okay, nothing really is happening. These young kids, they're getting offensive rebounds, they're getting loose balls. That's the kind of stuff we need to do as a team more, as a whole. And if these young kids can come in and do that, I think that trickles down to the other guys and makes them, dive on the court a little faster.
I think we're going to put an exclamation point on it there. Chris, thanks so much for being here.
Let me ask you one question.
Yeah.
Will Anthony Edwards win MVP next year?
No.
I don't think so either.
But I think the team wins more games.
Let's do it.
And that's fine. Kenny in 3-4 years? Sure.
Right.
And the reason I would say no is because I don't think the assists and the rebounds are going to be there. I'm not saying they're going to be bad. They could be like 5-5, but I think here's the thing. I don't see him scoring 34, 32 points a game.
I see him have to do.
Yeah, essentially. I see him like at 29, which in the course of an NBA game, isn't that big a deal? No. But in the course of winning MVP night after night, it is a big deal. Anyway, Chris, thanks so much for being here.
Hey, always a good time.
This is the Running with the Timberwolves podcast on the Believe Sports Network. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe on YouTube. Give us a 5-star rating on Spotify and or Apple. Tell a friend as well. Check us out on X as well, our Instagram, and basically you can check out our, what is it called? What is that? What is that thing called?
I don't know what it's called. What is it called?
Anyway, check out our Twitter. And as always, go Wolves.